Welcome back to Spin Magazine's Lip Service. I'm with Eric and Adrian from the Black Pumas. How are you guys?
Pretty good, man. It's great to be here. It's been a while since we've been in New York. I don't know.
Great to have you here. You got a busy week. You're doing like Fallon. You just did, I think, Good Morning America. So much, right?
We did a Today Show
Today
yesterday.
Show, that's right,
Yeah. Doing this, which is exciting, and then Fallon tomorrow.
Amazing. Incredible. Do you love New York? Do you love coming here, being from Austin?
Yeah, it's nice, man. It's always got a really cool vibe, and I just learned that my grandfather's side is from New York. I always thought it was Chicago, but apparently everyone's from New York. So I've been like reconnecting with family and everything. It's been great.
It's amazing when you come here. I mean, it's actually getting quite cold in New York. It's starting to get cold. When you come here, do you feel like home for you, or do you miss Austin and the heat and what's going on in Austin?
Nah, the heat. I never miss the heat in Austin. It's rough out there. And it's actually like 80 degrees right now in Austin. So.
We were just talking about it, right? I told you I was out there playing like years ago, and you were like, if you come to Austin in the summer, you're not going to like it as much.
Yeah.
Eric, we were joking around because you bought these amazing pair of cowboy boots, and I was like, it's weird. You're from Austin, and you're buying cowboy boots in New York. But
yeah, man. I mean, I'm one of those guys who likes to get prepared the day of. So it was funny to kind of scramble around for boots. Because and the way I just said that's crazy. I'm from California, for some boots, and no one has them. So I just found that I got really lucky and found this Mexican boutique store and bought some boots. But I love the weather too out here. I mean, it's kind of the only time when we come to New York. It's one of the only times really that I get to like dress, and lay. I kind of like to layer and whatnot. So
that's awesome. And you're coming back here, by the way, in January for Radio City, which is incredible. How do you feel about that? It's what an accomplishment.
It's such an epic venue.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I've never been.
Me neither. And I actually drove by it a couple nights ago, the night we got in, and looked and kind of just forgot it was coming up and was like, oh man, it's so iconic. Just
amazing.
the whole, yeah.
I'll definitely be at that show, by the way. But there's so much to get into. A fantastic new record, such a great new record. You guys took a couple years off, obviously the pandemic. We'll get into all that in your upbringing, your history. So let's get into it all. I mean, Eric, if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about how you grew up, growing up in the church, and kind of what inspired you early on, what made you fall in love with music.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was one of those kids who it was hard to kind of like get inside from playing outside, getting off the streets as far as like playing basketball with friends. I was a very active kid, and so I think that like joining the church choir was a really easy way for my parents to kind of like keep up with me. But I wasn't in choir for very long. I would definitely, in conclusion, kind of like attribute my musicality, what makes me an artist, to my uncle and my mom, who were very creative individuals. I mean, we were painting furnitures and playing melody games for the last popsicle out of the refrigerator kind of thing, So it was just kind of, I got to develop this kind of like passion behind music as a second nature, just by way of the information that was.
What did your parents do, by the way?
So my mom, she was a dancer. She did modern dancing, and my uncle is like who had a major hand in raising me. Such a saint, man. He was into youth centers. He had a youth center, and now he does home care. So very loving, very artistic and creative. Start to my upbringing. Obviously they told me I could do whatever I wanted to do. So. Yeah.
It's an interesting story. So you and your uncle actually used to play these games. I think it's your Uncle Steve, right?
Yeah.
Just about like who could write the best melodies, right? There was like early on, he kind of taught you the art of songwriting, I would say, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I mean, it's so funny to revisit some of the conversations with him regarding the development of music and, songs more specifically for pop culture. I almost feel like I've become a little bit of a teacher myself with him, and that feels really good to have him call for advice on a melody or a song for whatever direction I feel like he might be able to go successfully. So it's cool, man. We have like such a cool relationship that way.
What does he think of the band, by the way? I'm sure he's so proud of you.
Oh man, Uncle Steve is like, if he could do a backflip,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's super proud. He loves to see it. He's always telling me to take photos of Adrian and myself and the band together, like have everyone sign this. And I'm such a bad nephew because I never think about like, I don't want to put anything in front of Adrian to sign. It's like one of those things that we do on like a day-to-day basis,
all the time,
And so it's like when we don't have to do it, we don't,
And Adrian, you grew up in California. No, sorry, you grew up in Texas, by the way.
South Texas.
South
yeah.
Texas.
Laredo, Texas.
Talk to me about growing up in Texas, and obviously you moved to Austin later on in your life,
Yeah.
and what it was like growing up, and when you first fell in love with music. I think you're like an MTV kid too.
I
Right?
am, yeah. I grew up in Laredo, Texas. It's on the border with Mexico, and half my family was in Mexico. The other half was in the U.S. So I would go back and forth between Mexico and the U.S. like, sometimes daily. It didn't really feel like such a big deal back then in Laredo. It was like, go see grandma, you're in Mexico.
Right.
Come home, you're in the U.S. And so I kind of grew up in this like bilingual, bicultural place. And my parents were, I was an only child, and I had stepsisters later in life, but I was an only child for when I was really young. And my parents were working a lot, and I was just home a lot watching MTV, drawing, and just kind of up to my own devices. I was obsessed with music at a young age, but I didn't know that I could do music. I didn't know that was an option.
And who were the bands that you first fell in love with growing up?
Early on, probably hip hop was like the biggest thing that I got like really obsessed with. When I started to play guitar, really got into everything from like Guns N' Roses to when all the Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all the Seattle bands came out. Got really really into that. And then kind of went back and forth, hip hop, and then I'd be into the guitar and think like, man, hip hop's stupid. I'm only playing guitar, and then I'd think, wow, man, rock is stupid. I'm only into hip hop. So it just kind of went back and forth with that.
You end up meeting this incredible union between both of you, but obviously early on you even did some busking, Eric, right? Tell me about that, because that's such a great story about how this all happened before you guys met.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like we have the craziest story. I'm so like we pinch ourselves all the time, man. It's such a wild story, man. Can we curse on this?
Yeah, curse as much as you
Man,
want.
it's
Please.
a wild ass story,
Feel free to
man.
curse.
But yeah, it makes me want to curse how wild it is, Yeah. It's so wild I forgot the question.
How'd y'all meet early on? Because you were saying I know you busked early on. You were at the Santa Monica Pier. You had $20 to your name. You ended up going on American Idol. There's a great story there.
Yeah. Excuse me, I had to take a moment. Yeah,
It's all right.
because it's been crazy. I mean, I feel like when you're in such a situation that is busking on the pier for, a 12.30 Subway sandwich, at the end of whatever slot you have on the Santa Monica Pier. It's the future can start to become less clear, I think, as a musician and an artist. But I think that in interjecting myself in such a reality, I kind of got to really embrace myself in lieu or in light of to seeing every individual pass by me live their own lives. It's like people are going to live their lives, and it's important for me at the end of the day to 100% like be able to express myself the way that I need to. So when I was busking, it was more about being able to express myself and flex myself and stretch myself. It's very therapeutic, and the money and different things that came along with it came secondary. But yeah, I met a couple of guys, like kooky dudes who, were surprisingly super brilliant. Like one of them had gone to school to be a doctor. The other one was working in like one of the biggest publishers in California for music publishing. And it was just like such an oddball crew that we decided to leave from Texas and continue our busking trip up to Seattle, Washington, back down where I finally met Adrian in Austin, Texas, through a close friend of ours. I mean, the story is crazy. I mean, I got to Austin busking on 6th and Congress.
Incredible.
Not knowing, like my first day, which was my birthday, 2015, October 7th.
How much were you making a day, by the way, when you're busking? Did people recognize the talent that you had?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think that there's people out there who are, and this was a cool thing too. I think that in my busking, I was able to kind of very easily grow to observing the capacity and people to kind of watch, listen, hear their like what's going on. It's so crazy to see. You can just tell how closed-eyed we are when we're on our own journeys. But I think that there's some more just like just empathetic individuals that feel more deeply outside of themselves. And I would, I kind of miss the dance of just holding my own space and influencing and affecting the world in a positive way. That I think that's basically, in conclusion, where like my disposition towards engaging with people on these broader stages, how it goes. And it's so simple. It still feels like I'm busking anyway.
It's amazing. Even before that, like 2012, you had like $20 to your name. You end up auditioning for American Idol. Talk to me about that.
Whoa. What? All right.
It's true, right?
That's very true, man. I was on season 12, I believe it was. At the end of 2011, I took like $20 to where was I? I was in California. I took $20 to Houston, and auditioned amongst 9,000 to 10,000 people, and I made it through a series of auditions that day.
What was your song, by the way?
It was "Smile" by Charlie Chaplin.
Okay.
Or is that a Charlie Chaplin song?
I don't know.
I know
Smile
Charlie
though
Chaplin.
your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. So I sang that song. Such a pretty song.
You should have won, by the way.
Man, they really loved my smile. They loved my energy. So, I made it through to Hollywood, and I got to meet I got to do the whole thing. It was crazy. It was crazy. I was like spending the night between like a Burger King and a gas station and a friend's like mom's vehicle, and she had to send money, and it was just so. I was like, what am I? I'm crazy for this stuff, and so it was a blessing to not to have gone all the way through for multiple reasons, but man,
And what eventually brought you to Austin, where you actually hooked up with Adrian?
I was just randomly on a busking trip. I think that we were doing pretty well in California, that my friends had the idea to take it further. Hey, what if we did like a busking tour kind of thing, like save up $1,000 and we'll take my my van and and get going. And so that's what we did, and it was beautiful to see how generous people were. It was probably like the best time of my life. Like I had a ball, not knowing what was going to happen, not knowing what was going to be the following day. What an adventure that was. But that led me to Austin, where I met Adrian and my first girlfriend there within a year and a half's time of being there. And I do, like, Austin's so dope. Like, if you're a musician and a serious artist, I feel like Austin people, the community, has a really lovely way of embracing the next person in a way that like I couldn't fathom, having in a place like California, where there's pockets of love. But Austin, I feel like there's like, I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Such a great city, by the way.
Yeah. And so, a close friend of ours. Well, I don't know how close he is to you, but
He lived a few blocks from me. That's how close he was now. But he was a good friend, But he, a friend of ours, a mutual friend, introduced us.
Our show today is brought to you by the fine folks at Sonos. I have to take a moment to talk to you about my favorite speakers on the planet. Sonos, first impressions, open up the box, some of the sleekest speakers I've ever seen in my life. Sonos has hands down been my favorite speaker brand for years, especially as a touring musician myself. I've used all types of speakers throughout my career, and I gotta tell you, Sonos beats them all for sound quality and ease of use. I recently got the Beam soundbar and the extra subwoofer. I plugged it in, it's super easy to use, and I gotta tell you, my room fills up with sound like no one's business. The Beam soundbar has the clearest dialogue and such insane bass, especially when hooked up to my extra subwoofer. My whole room shakes. It literally fills up my bedroom with so much sound. Lately, I've also been using the Arc soundbar for my living room TV. It's super easy to connect to. I was able to seamlessly hook it up. It's sleek and it blends right into my space. The Arc soundbar has really changed the way that I watch TV and movies. I'll have some friends over. I hook it up to the extra subwoofer and it really helps to create that intense surround sound. The design is immaculate. It looks great below my TV in my living room. My favorite thing about Sonos speakers is how easy they are to use. You can set them up in under 20 minutes or so. The sound is incredible, they look incredible, and they are by far the best gift you can buy for anyone. Head over to Sonos.com to learn more and find gifts for every listener on your list.
And Adrian, you've been working on music for years. Obviously, you won a Grammy, which is incredible. And you started to hear about this singer, Eric, right? And you started saying, I got these tracks and I'm looking for a singer. You start asking friends, do you know anyone that could sing on this? And how'd you come to Eric?
Initially, that was so I hadn't actually heard of Eric. Eric hadn't heard of me. We didn't know each other existed at the time. Right. And I was having lunch with our mutual friend, Brian Ray. He wanted to pick my brain about something. He lives in my neighborhood, and we just went for every once in a while get coffee. And he was like, I forget what he was picking my brain about. I was walking back to my car, and I had already asked a lot of friends literally around the world, like producer friends that I know around the world and stuff. Like, hey, do you know anybody like who can really sing their ass off, write songs, kind of have this idea, and people would say, yeah, check out, and I just never reached out to anybody. I checked everybody out, would look them up, check it on YouTube and be like, yeah, that's not
the right
like,
fit.
it just, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew that wasn't what I wasn't that excited. I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then I was leaving to my car and I remember I was like literally at my car door and I was like, oh, hey, Brian, because he's a producer and works with a lot of people. And I'm like, do you know anybody who would be really into like this idea for this kind of soul thing? And he's like, from his car to my car, he was like, yeah, this guy, Eric Burton, I'll send you his info. And I'm like, all right. So I got in the car, got home, Googled Eric Burton. And so I didn't know he was a busker back then. I saw, the first thing I saw was this video of him playing at Sahara Lounge, right? Is there a video of you playing solo at Sahara Lounge?
Yeah.
Just a club. Yeah, eventually I figured it out Googling because there was like a little documentary about him or something. But
there's videos of you playing Colors from like 10 years ago online.
Yeah.
Early on.
I was out there,
So yeah, eventually kind of figured it out. But reached out and we connected and started working on music.
And the story goes, you speak on the phone, you end up singing on the phone to Adrian, right, Eric?
Yeah, man. It's it's not as weird as it sounds. I feel I hope I'm not the only one who does this because it's such a great way to find a soundboard and like a friend. But when I'm making music, I get so excited about it that I have to share. In retrospect, it was probably a funny look being in a house with a girlfriend who was probably wondering who I was singing on the phone to. But man,
what were you singing, by the way?
I was just excited. Yeah, I had come up with some lyrics to Fire.
It was Fire. I remember.
Yeah, I came up with some lyrics. I was like, dude, I think I got it. I think I found it. And so he's like, man, I'm on my way to a gig.
I was on my way to a gig.
And immediately, did you know just from that phone call, were you like, this is the guy that I need to work with?
Kind of had a feeling. But even honestly, when I saw a video, I remember that Sahara Lounge video, I was like, this guy I'm reaching out to for sure. There was so much to it, like, eventually like kind of poked around a little bit more, heard Colors, I was like, it's like songwriting, obviously, needless to say, like incredible vocals. And there was something to me about the way he played guitar where I was like, damn, like that's really compelling. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they would send me like, that's a great soul singer. And I'm like, yeah, they are, you know, but like I saw that video and was like, damn, that's somebody I want to work with, and reached out to him, and the rest is history.
And the first time you guys got together, did you know it was like instant chemistry? Because sometimes it takes a moment to find that groove.
For sure. I think it was, man. I think that we were probably both, I could feel we were both kind of nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, and it's so funny, like walking into that old space at Adrian's old home where, you walk into like a side room type of a situation where there's nothing separating you from the control aspect of things and the live aspect of things, but a baffle with like a window. So I like walk in and I feel like I'm peering over and I see his head, above, like in the window area. So I feel like I have to enter a room twice. I'm like, man, this is wild. So I think we both felt a little bit of like just natural nerves. Yeah. But, as soon as he, pressed record and I got to lay a few ideas down, it was, I don't know. I think some of that connection probably goes a little unspoken for. I don't know how to speak to it.
Yeah, and Eric, this is really sort of your first band, right? Because Adrian, like I said, you had played with at some point you were like the backing band for Prince's band too, right? Which is an incredible story. But again, this was really your first band, Eric. So it must have been an instant chemistry in a way, I would imagine.
This is not my first band. My first band is Brothers in Arms.
Oh, okay.
My busking buddies. Shout out, you guys.
That was the name. I didn't know that was the name.
Brothers in Arms,
I
baby.
didn't know that
I
either.
did not know that.
Oh, man, you didn't know that?
There's a reveal here.
I'm
on
buying
now.
brothersinarms.com right
Come on
now.
now. We're talking about
gonna
journalism. We're
Buy
talking
the
about-
domain.
We're talking about practice. Yeah, man. It feels really good. It feels great, especially for the fact that I have been in this incubator for learning for taking the way that I play guitar and singing lyrics, allowing the song to come to me. It's I'm able to now take those facilities and accept a full band as my instrument. And so for me, like that's been the most epic thing, because I'm now able to take some of these movies out of my head and put some color to them, and who better to do it beside, man? It's been so fun. Are you kidding? What?
It happens so
Yeah.
quickly for you guys. I mean, you record this first record, you end up getting nominated for like 7 Grammys, which is unheard of, right? So talk to me about the first record and, working up to that moment where you get all these nominations. You had to be like, this doesn't happen in real life to anyone.
Bro, like I didn't know how to respond. I'm looking at Adrian for like emotional cues. Like, what are we supposed to do here now? What now? This is wild.
I remember he would kind of ask me, I remember a couple moments, like we made that album. We didn't really even know whether we were going to be a band. It was like we just wanted to make
a duo?
something.
Is it a band? What is
or
it?
we just were like, maybe just something for our catalog,
Yeah.
just some kind of cool collaboration. Played shows. The shows we played 2 months of shows were just completely off the hook. I remember we got lunch at Cosmic, I think, and I was like, man, is this something you want to do? Because I think this is going to happen really fast. And he's like, I'm down. I'm like, all right, I'm down. Oh man, what was the question?
Just how quickly it happens.
Yeah.
It's really uncommon for it to happen within a year and a half that you go from inception to 7 Grammy nominations.
So I remember he would kind of ask me like, asked me questions because I had been in other bands that toured a lot before, and he'd be like, this is, and I remember it got to like quickly to a point where I'm like, I'm experiencing everything for the first time as you are now at this point. I remember there was a few months there where he would ask me like, what's it like to do this? And then I'm not telling him, it's like,
come on, man, don't put my business out there like that, Adrian.
but eventually it got to the point where I'm like, every new experience, we'd be at airports, on planes in Europe and wherever the hell, and I'd be like, man, this is all new. Like this is all new for me as it is for you. And we got to a point where I think it just surpassed. I don't know if you can say surpassed our expectations. I knew it was good. I knew we would kick ass. I knew all that. I couldn't even like fathom that far out. It's like
wild, man.
Yeah, it's wild.
I feel like I definitely attribute a lot of our successes to our team, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know people say that, but I'm not just saying that. I think that, in every team, you need someone who can have some sort of a vision where we might have some blind spots, especially as artists. So, I mean, like Adrian said, we were stoked on the music. We knew that it moved us. But, also when you live in like a place like California or a place like Austin, and all of the coolest kids who are also your friends come to shows like this, and they're kicking it
What do
in
you
the
got?
back, kind of thing. You start to kind of, borrow a little bit from that attitude about what's possible, I think. And so, it's been nice to have other elements to the team who are kind of outsiders looking in all of our elevation as well. So
talk to me about those early gigs, by the way, because initially you didn't even invite a ton of friends the first 1 or 2 gigs, right? Then it just started happening organically.
Completely organically, man.
I think we practiced like once before the gig.
Maybe twice, I don't know. But it was completely organically, man. Like, I remember wanting the first one to feel, I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not even sure. We might suck. I remember telling my wife, like, I don't know if we're going to suck. I was like just kind of in my head about it. And the first gig, as soon as we started playing, I was like, nah, we don't suck. We kind of kick ass. And like sitting there on stage after that first gig, like, oh man, this is something else. And we were supposed to do 4 Thursdays. We were supposed to do every Thursday, and I think it was February in 2018. And by like the second one, there was lines around the block, and
Incredible.
It was crazy.
What do you attribute that to? Just the word in town just started spreading so quickly because the
Spread
songs?
super quickly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the songs? Like, I don't know.
I think the chemistry on stage,
Yeah.
the songs too, obviously, but like
Because it wasn't packed the first night either,
by
right?
like the third one, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Yeah.
delve into the first record. Incredible songs, and the stories behind the songs are always so interesting to me. So let's talk a little bit about, obviously, one of the biggest hits you've had, Colors, and the story behind Colors.
For sure. Also, let me conclude with this. I think that the craziest thing about playing our first shows, like the first 3 shows, the first week, was seeing how the music from the first album, when you hear it on record, how that evolved and took shape in as part of the live setting.
Yeah.
Like that was like so different than like already from what we had already recorded. And that aspect of things is really what sold us. At the end of the day, it was what really connected us to, listeners around the world. Like I think our first viral video was Colors.
Yeah, it's millions and millions of views from that live performance.
Yeah, not that I'm hovering over it or anything, but after 200 million, views, it's like, wow, it's really wild.
By the way, what a staggering number to think about. 200 million people seeing that. It's incredible.
It's wild, man.
Yeah.
It's a really nice full circle, place to be, I think. I'm really thankful for. I did write that song maybe 11, 12 years ago now on my uncle's rooftop in New Mexico, singing to exactly what I was looking at, the colors in the sky, while the sun was going down. And, with an impetus that was wanting to take what you might deem as a hymn in a typical church situation and just kind of make something within myself of myself that I feel invites more people to the discussion that I would like to have in just the way that I share love. So it was really simple, And so, 10 years later, it's been amazing to see how after recording it, maybe I might have recorded that song 2 or 3 times, with Adrian being the 3rd time. So it's gone through a few iterations. And so, it's been wild 10 years later to see how, society has taken that and has used it for a flagship of so many positive things I could not have looked forward to while I was writing that song.
By the way, now more than ever, I think the world needs love. So that song takes on a whole new meaning years later, right? And it's such a timeless song that people can probably embrace when they want to feel love and be empathetic to what's going on in the world, right?
For sure. It's always time.
Yeah.
Always time.
And some other great tracks on the record, October 33, Fire. I love, as I said, the stories behind these songs. So I'd love to get into a couple of those tracks too.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Here, let me put this guy on silent. Bing.
Let's talk about October 33rd.
October 33. Man, you start that one off, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just, I'll say that one thing I love about our collaboration is I loved being encouraged by Adrian to be productive in like moments at a time, right? It's like there's a consistency about the way that we ask of each other, and so thanks.
I remember we were wrapping up the album, maybe close, and I felt like I was like, we don't have like the song to ride off into the sunset with. I remember like listening. We had a lot of cool songs. Still trying to, that was so early on. We had just met, it's like the chemistry was there, but you're still kind of getting to know each other and like how we work. I remember texting Eric and being like, man, I don't feel like we have the song to ride off into the sunset with. And maybe you texted me like, you're like, check this out. And I was like, what? It was October. It was like a demo of him on the phone recording, playing October. Or maybe you said, you had, I don't know.
I had like a verse and a chorus. I'm like, all right, these are the bones.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it
was like that. The next morning, I think we did the session.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I actually always find this. But so the next morning we brought the band in, recorded it, and he had this kind of like janky acoustic at the time, but the way it was sounding and everything, I was like, just here's a mic, and it was so powerful and so emotional and really raw. Like that's the thing about a lot of the stuff on the first album is a lot of those things were like pretty live takes, and I kind of like didn't want to over edit and over process things and stuff like that. and it was so intense, so powerful. It was happening so quick that from the technical end at the time, I was still like putting mic. I didn't have an engineer in my studio. The one having to like play guitar and run and hit record and hit the mic and whatever.
Classic.
So like on the technical end, it wasn't like the best recording from that engineering standpoint. But the emotion was so there in the vocals that I told him like, let's re-record, and we tried it. I was like, nah, it doesn't have that like raw feeling. And he was finishing the lyrics, and he wrote them on like a piece of cardboard or something. And I found it the other day. Every once in a while I find that and think, I'm going to save this. Yeah. And then I misplace it. And then I pull it out again, and I'm always like almost in tears because I remember that morning that we did that song. It was again, sometimes the stuff that we do is just kind of just happens like that. It just it's unspoken. I texted him like, hey, do you have a song like this? He's like, I do. And then we did it the next day. Like,
is the process normally like that for you, or is it all over the place?
All over the place.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out Greg Alexander of the New Radicals. He bought me that janky guitar.
Amazing.
It's not
Great
a
band,
janky
by the
guitar,
way.
Greg. Thank you so much.
Whoops. Yeah.
No, I mean,
amazing.
it kind of was. I mean, it was a Washburn, and it was perfect for that moment. So thank you, Greg. And you know what? We'll have enchanted moments like that in the studio. That's my favorite. It's my favorite stuff. Like we've been in town for a couple of days. Everyone, when you're touring, when you're a tourist, I kind of feel like a tourist in New York. But the way that I like to do it is working, which is how some of the album got concluded as well. And so after this, I got a studio session. I'm like, I'm super pumped. And for those moments in conclusion, like you chase those moments of enchantment where the magic is palpable,
Yeah.
So we had a few moments like that.
It's
really
been
cool.
all over the place, but I do think one thing we both have in common is and I heard you kind of talking to somebody yesterday about kind of the demoitis thing of like, it's more important to capture the feeling with whatever microphone it is than for me to say, well, hold on, like he's got this thing coming out of him, and I'm like, well, hold on, let me go get the U87, and then, and it's just like, man, let's get that moment right there, and that's more, that comes off the tape more than like, give me 3 hours, Eric, and bottle that energy, and and it's like we need if the thing is there, let's get that, and that's he'll crank out demos with like his homies where we listen to that, try to redo it, and we're like, that was it. That was the moment. That was,
I feel like you guys are first take kind of artists, right? The first takes are always the best a lot of times.
Yeah, it depends on what we're working on,
depends,
I think. Yeah.
Definitely.
But more so than not.
Well, 2019, let's talk about this. The record comes out and all of a sudden, Best New Artist nomination, as I spoke about on the Grammys, but you're up against Lizzo, Billie Eilish, Rosalia. What was that like?
It was amazing to be up beside these people. It's hard for me to accept that we're going up against someone. I know you didn't mean anything by that, but as a lyricist and someone who strives to be a wordsmith, I think that it's really important to pay attention to how we spell things out. And so with that said, it was inspiring to see different artists from different walks and cultivations and like we can't help but be influenced by. So it was so cool to be in the same room as these people, and I don't, there's no, that's just to keep it real. In
a way, did you think maybe it's too soon? This record just came out. I mean, we have all these nominations. It's happening too fast. And it's easy to get caught up in all that craziness with the Grammys. Or did you think this is meant to be? This is destiny?
It's always happening too fast, right? Such is life, right?
But it never felt... it's kind of surreal at first, but it never felt like, no, this wasn't meant to... It was like, remember, we've had a lot of moments and talks about that kind of stuff. So.
Because before you know it, you're performing at the Grammys and you have like Harry Styles like mouthing the words to Colors. You must have thought this is a bit surreal from just busking, a few years earlier, right? Because that song Colors actually was a song that you're maybe going to even keep for yourself early on for like a solo project, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, when I met Adrian and I learned of some of his history in the music industry, I told myself that it was all or nothing. Let's see what we can do with everything that we have to share and or bring to the table. I had nothing to lose, and with that though, I feel very confident in my love towards writing songs. That it's not a mindset of lack that I lead with in my collaborations. It's either going to be something that really moves me honestly, or it's not. And I don't know any rules outside of just being myself and engaging with people. It always comes out better that way. So I was trying to lead with an unabashed disposition towards engaging with Adrian as to really fully see what capacity we had to make quality music. Yeah.
Talk to me about performing at the Grammys again at that debut record. What was that like?
That was the pandemic year. It was great. It was amazing. But, it was one of those things where it's like there's no audience and, it was fun. It was amazing. We just taped it a few times and looks great on the camera.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It was like being on a TV show.
Yeah,
right?
basically.
Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
very
yeah.
staged.
Yeah.
Everyone's in their places. We got 3 takes per individual. We performed for a camera crew. It was bizarre.
Yeah,
it was really
yeah.
it was exceedingly weird. But obviously super thankful to be a part of the conversation, and it was nice to kind of hobnob with your peers. In the same room. It was a big deal, very big deal for us, while it was very bizarre.
Yeah.
Is there anyone when you were performing, you're like, I can't believe that we're with so and so in this room and performing? Anyone that you had like a pinch me moment at that point at the Grammys?
On the actual taping or the day of the Grammys?
On the taping, or the day of.
The day of, I remember, if this was the same year, seeing Jay-Z and Beyonce walk by.
Amazing.
And that's pretty surreal. That's pretty damn surreal. I mean, like,
It's like
a
he
lot
was
of
like
people.
really running around like, yo, Jay-Z and I was laughing at how impressed.
I don't get too starstruck, but
that was
that's
hilarious.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of artists said they love the record and they love the songs on the record, right? Which has got to be a great feeling for you all.
Yeah, surprisingly, we did even early on get a lot of love from people, coming up and telling us they knew about us and knew the music and stuff.
Yeah. Amazing. Let's talk about the new record. Obviously, you're here. You're doing Fallon, as we were speaking about. The new record's getting an incredible response. It's an amazing record. So congrats. It's been a couple years, right? The pandemic hit, and must have been hard just in the writing sessions the first year. Probably hard to get together and just figure it out. But talk to me about the process leading up to this record.
Man, I think the process started from the moment we finished the first record. We never stopped writing. This is the way that we meditate, so it's always on our minds. And it's a privilege to be called upon to have something in the first place. I feel like we have more of an issue sifting through all of the ideas that we have in order to kind of consolidate for the simple purposes of making an album. So yeah, but with that said, I mean, I feel like we definitely have taken on a healthy amount of pressure as far as what people might expect of us coming out of nowhere the way that we did. It was kind of heavy. And so, yeah, it was difficult because I think that in such a situation, you can't help but take a step back and sort of retreat a little bit and explore. And so I think that in doing that, we both have an individualistic way of procuring something out of nothing in order to share it with each other in the first place. So that was crazy, and I think that is definitely the album is very indicative of our reaching for inspiration that was true to us, I think.
Yeah, they always say that you have your whole life to write your first record and whatever it is, a year or two to write your sophomore record. So you must have felt, as you mentioned, like some pressure going into this record a little bit, right? Probably pressure you put on yourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt pressure, no doubt. And I think maybe the pressure, and it snowballs into pressure you put on yourself, which is sometimes even more intense than the pressure from other people. I think people ask me a lot about the pressure. I think there was good days and there's bad days. There's days where we feel like we're the Bulls and the champ, like, yeah, let's go. It's game 6 on the line. Like, this is what you're doing. Then there's days where you're just like, man, what the hell am I doing? There's rough days. And I remember always telling Eric, like, there was obviously there was a little bit more pressure on him than there is on me, because there'd be days where he would maybe be a little bit stressed out about it, and on those days maybe I wouldn't, and I'd be like, I get it, I totally get it. I mean, I just have to make it sound cool. You're writing words that resonate literally around the world, so we went back and forth. But I think overall that the pressure was good for us. I do think that it was something that lit a fire under our ass to to make sure that we could do the best we could do.
Are you an artist that writes like 50 songs and you pick the best 10 or 15? Because you had about 4 years in between records now. Or did you record just the 10 or 12 songs for the record?
I mean, he writes a lot that,
Yeah, I mean, the ideas, they're always, I mean, even now, like I just want to be in the studio.
You're going to the studio
be
after
honest.
this.
But I think that before, when I was busking, individually, I was probably writing a few songs, 3, 4, 5 songs a week, at least working on them for lyrics and melody and music. And I think that the biggest difference this time for me that was affecting the way that we presented ourselves was learning a little bit of the language of a recording artist, where it's not just myself and an acoustic guitar anymore. It's like, okay, like what is the difference between plugging a Fender Telecaster into a reverb, or straight in, or taking a hollow body and plugging it straight into the board for, that old warm sound that you get in like Al Green records. And just learning the language to the degree that I can share what is moving me in a way that my partner and band can understand. And so I think that as we were able to do that, ideas would come, and we were able to kind of take our own space and see what would be inspiring, to then come back and be like, hey, yo, I worked on this. You don't like it? Cool, I got this. And same thing. And so we'd like kind of just help each other out, just tennis kind of back and forth.
Those early days, were you getting together during the pandemic, or was the Zoom sessions that everyone did that were so awkward and weird?
No, we never did Zoom sessions. During the pandemic, the thing was we still kind of started touring a lot. So, it always seemed on paper like we were going to have time to really work on the record in between tours. But, when you're home for 2 weeks and you haven't seen your family and you got to do laundry and you got to sleep for a couple, all of a sudden you're like, all right, you see, like you're back at the airport.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're like, all right, here we are again. And, wherever the hell we are. So it was hard to really get the momentum going when we were on tour that much. And we were a band that obviously there was like the heavy early pandemic where like nobody left their house.
Right.
But even then, I think we did Hello in that time period, right? That was when we did Hello, like when we went to Josh Blues and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the greatest irony of what makes us up as far as what our productivity looks like, is that I feel like in movement, we're most inspired. But while we're in movement, we don't have time to record music.
Yeah.
But
Although you go into the studio after this, so you're still taking
exactly.
time
So
on the road.
you find time, and not everyone's always down. Sometimes you got to have your rest.
Yeah.
When we're in Amsterdam and it's been night after night, and we finally have 2 days off. I mean, it's Amsterdam, so we want to experience Amsterdam. But like I said, I'm always like, okay, who's open? Like, what studio's open? Okay, Skink Studio, let's go. Actually, it was to specifically speak to the time, Rock and Roll and Gemini Sun came out of the opportunity that we had to record music right before an Amsterdam show,
Angel,
or right after, and Angel. So we did like 2 or 3 songs in movement, and so when we were lucky, we were able to do that. So in conclusion, I got into the habit of visiting music stores while we're out to see what I can take, like in a Juno 6, which is a big player on this record, and Hello. And like I got an acoustic bass guitar and found like a little bit of a ravine somewhere in Paris or something like that. and I started Gemini Sun, what became Gemini Sun, borrowing from parts in different times. I mean, it's been about finding a place, finding a way to proceed with a mindset of abundance. So like, it's just like, man, for a while we couldn't figure it out. I'm like, man, the album's not done. It's been like 3 years. We haven't recorded anything. What are we doing?
But, yeah. And then we found we kind of had like a lot of stuff already kind of laying around as a springboard. I remember we went to a studio in San Francisco one time during the early touring days. We were supposed to do this commercial for something. We weren't feeling it. It was like, all right, we need to
Like
do
a
this
Chevy
for a payday.
commercial or
I don't remember what it
something?
was. Some commercial. We weren't feeling it.
Yeah.
And we did this a couple of times where we're like, we have this potential ad thing, and we were just like, let's just book the studio time, get that out of the way in the first hour, and then we just use this free studio time. So we did Chronicles of a Diamond like that. We did that at Vince's studio in Brooklyn too. Remember, we had that other commercial.
Oh yeah.
And we just And we actually, I forgot what happened to those songs. We
Does that
cut a
happen a
couple
lot, by
ideas.
the way, where there's a brand that wants you to record and you just don't feel
it happened a
and-
few times.
Yeah.
I mean, early on, you know, it was like it's hard to turn down opportunities. So we would try it, but ultimately we'd always look at it like, well, if we finish that quick, then we have a free studio day. You know?
Yeah,
So,
I love when that happens for us, when brands are asking us to do things that we decide that we want to do, because it just works as a catalyst to be in the studio.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think looking forward, it's going to be really important for us, team, to be in the studio while we're in movement, because it's just, you know, at 9 times out of 10, we walk away with something that we dig. So, yeah.
Is there a story behind More Than a Love Song, one of the greatest songs on the record? By the way, I think it reverts back to your Uncle Steve again.
Yeah, man. I was inspired by the track. I think Adrian started, like, he had a demo of it laying around from like a while ago.
that was right after we finished the first album.
Yeah?
That we started it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he showed me a demo of it that I guess he had to like hire some other musicians to play some overdubs on. Who knows how long he had it, but he showed me that. I was inspired by the music, and it reminded me, like, in my process, I was reminded of the message that I received from an uncle when I was writing songs, you know, encouraging me to find ways to, you know, write from a place of love that isn't so indicative of like what a love song is, you know, necessarily.
Yeah, you said your life is more than just a love song, right?
Yeah, life is more than a love song.
Yeah.
He told me that. I remember that. I think I was like 10, 11. Yeah, I don't know. At a younger age, he's so brilliant, man. Just the little nuggets. Uncle Steve, man.
Uncle Steve, shout out. Do you have some favorite songs on the record, if you had to pick one?
One that I remember fondly is I think "Hello" is one that you know, obviously has not come out as a single or anything like that, but it was one that we did during the pandemic, and I just remember that day and how like fun and loose everything was, and we left a lot of that, like the song, you can kind of hear Eric laughing, and there's a door closing, and you can hear me messing around on the guitar and all that, and that one was so such a left field idea that Eric had on this synthesizer that he was like, check this out. I think you said you were like walking in LA playing that on the street, right? Or something.
Yeah. You bought the Juno 6 and battery powered. So it was like it felt like walking around with a toy. I'm like, man, this is like such a cool toy. In my mind, I think at face value, those little things look like toys. You know, it's the colors and
So you're walking down the street with the Juno 6 and you write this song.
And I'm writing this song. I'm having fun with learning how to manipulate waves. And I fell in love with the arpeggiation on this machine. And I think I might have been microdosing on mushrooms. And
Those are the best songs, by the way.
Yeah. It was you know, when I moved to Austin, man, you guys really turned me out. You know, microdosing every 3 days helps with dopamine. Word.
It's good for you.
Yeah. So you know, I was in LA and really had a mind to do something completely different. The songwriting came secondary. I think that while I was in a meeting with a girlfriend. The meeting consisted of just conscious-minded people searching for, you know, solutions to things. And so I think that where my mind was I love the idea of manipulating waves in music to heal certain elements and aspects of the body by way of its vibrational value. And, you know, I think in between times, I also had this what looked like a toy, you know, so I would kind of like play and get my mind off of it and really try to like, you know, fix the waves to really move me. And so, I you know, made it back to the truck. I pressed record on my voice memo. I did the beatbox on the steering wheel. I'm playing with one hand. I got the arpeggiation on. I'm singing it in the phone, and it sounds just like the demo that I made in the truck. I'm like, man, okay, great. We got the drums to match and a lot of the elements. And this is, man, don't mean to be fragmented here, but like this is another really cool thing about our collaboration is that I don't feel like I'm in a collaboration that feels like that it's not generous right? Like Adrian, if I'm really inspired by something, Adrian wants to see why for the most part, I think. And yeah, man, I think I contribute a lot of the different aspects of the dynamic in the music of this album to Adrian and our generosity towards sharing with each other. It's been pretty cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
By the way, you do some great covers. I want to talk about Fast Cars, one of the best covers you do. And Rodrigo, obviously, Sugar Man, great song. I love both those covers. What were the stories behind wanting to approach both of those songs?
Yeah.
I mean, Eric, I'll let him talk on Fast Car because he had already been playing it before really we started doing it as a band. But Sugar Man was this song we both always loved. I think it was just,
Such a great documentary, by the way.
Oh,
And sad
amazing.
story. And
yeah. So we
great
got
story.
to meet Rodriguez. He
Oh, you
came to
did?
a show
Amazing.
outside of Detroit, and we had the honor of meeting him. He heard us play the song with his family and loved it. And it's a song we both loved, and it seemed like just a natural fit for the band, and it just became a pretty amazing show, part of the live show. Fast Car, I think he had already been playing.
So you were busking Fast Car back in the day? Or
Yeah, it was Busking. It was just a song. I mean, I might have known a few covers, and that was a cover that I sang very well. So that was what I could bring to the table when we didn't have enough material to even play a show. Like, Eric, I think they're asking for one more song, So I'd go out and sing Dock of the Bay or this song, Tracy Chapman's Fast Car. And I think that we were very fortunate to have her personally give us
Her blessing.
in order to license it. So
It's rare that a cover is almost, I would say it's better. I mean, I love the version you do. So it's rare that a song, a cover is better than the original, but I'm going to go on a limb and say I love your version. So
Thank you.
It's great that incredible. So let's talk about the tour a little bit. December 3rd, there's a 4-night run in Austin. And then I don't think you're back here until January, as we spoke about Radio City.
Radio City Music
I think
Hall.
this show will come out somewhere around December. So
Okay.
I'll definitely be at the show coming up. I'm excited. So talk to me about the tour. Are you excited for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly don't really know what is going on.
you just show up, and wherever you go, you go, right?
I feel like there's shows and whatnot that are being added to the calendar as we speak. Brazil's super excited to see us again.
But a 4-night run in Austin, that's your hometown,
Yeah,
right?
we just did a little
December.
hometown sneak show, like at the place we started at Sea Boys.
Awesome.
Which
That's where it all began.
Fits a couple hundred people. We just did that last week, and in the last couple of weeks we've been rehearsing, learning this new material because it's never really, some of it's a couple of songs we had already started playing live, but a lot of it hasn't. So it's like kind of sort of wild actually now learning the songs off the record, to play live. So we just did a little show last week, and it was incredible. It was incredible. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you like doing all the press, the Fallons, the morning shows, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they always treat us very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of hurry up and wait sometimes, but I think the morning show the other day was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It was
amazing.
nice. Yeah, very quick, super easy. We knew the songs.
Well, it's a fantastic new record, so definitely check it out. We always do these top 5 lists at the end of the show, which kind of go viral, and we spoke about them for a minute before, but I'm excited to get into it. So let's talk about your top 5 Austin or Texas-born musicians, Black Pumas.
Oof. I'm gonna say
Starting with number 5, I guess. Right?
I'm gonna say. Well, I don't know if I can do it chronologically like that. Don't do me like that. But I'm gonna say Willie Nelson. To name one, and I'll pass the buck here.
Willie Nelson, I'll say Erykah Badu.
Okay. Who I didn't know was from Texas.
Yeah, Dallas.
Awesome.
I think Gary Clark Jr. is pretty talented,
Amazing.
man, and
Who was it that you
will
were
only
saying,
get better and grow for sure.
Absolutely.
I like him.
The older gentleman that's
Dude, like one of my favorite artists of all time. Austin is it's so blessed with culture and talent. Soul Man Sam, oh my God, he's like this super charismatic guy on stage. So awesome, so sweet. I think he might be partially blind, and I don't even know if he really. I think he knows my name now, but he would engage with me as he'd call me Black Puma. Is that Black Puma? Hey, Black Puma. And so we'd watch the Soul Man Sam show and just see the mastery at work. So him and a guy like Birdleg are like some really bizarre, old school, very, very true to the source musicians that I really absolutely adore there.
So could you say you're number one Texas-born or Austin-born musician? Would you say is there a number one there for you?
For Austin?
For Austin or
would
Texas?
probably be Willie Nelson.
Willie
I feel
Nelson.
like Willie Nelson is really the guy that the torchbearer who's made Austin what it is, I think.
Amazing. Well, let's talk about you guys are foodies too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
We're hungry.
Tex-Mex or barbecue, would you say?
Probably Tex-Mex, I'd say.
Tex-Mex,
Yeah.
okay,
I
so-
mean, I love barbecue, but I'd say Tex-Mex.
Do you have a top 5 Tex-Mex or barbecue spots that you go into Austin?
Yeah. Do you got your spots?
Oh man, I'm hitting Veracruz taco
Yeah.
truck right around the corner from my house, next door to Fleet. Give me a coffee.
Veracruz is amazing. It's a wealth of good Mexican and
so
Tex-Mex.
Is that number 5?
Are we going in
Yeah,
order?
yeah, yeah.
Shoot. Okay.
I'm gonna
Sure.
put that as my number 2.
Yeah, he might go up. Yeah, I would put Veracruz up there too.
That's number 2?
Starting at
That's
number
number 2
5.
for me.
Okay.
One of my other favorite taco trucks is at the one at Cosmic, which is Pueblo Viejo, and there's one by my house as well. There's two. There's one in a coffee shop south, and there's one by my studio. Yeah,
There's an amazing food scene, by the way, in Austin. Amazing food
Yeah.
truck scene. So
Mhm.
I think we're on number 3.
My top taco truck. Have you been to this one? I'm gonna be so stoked if you haven't, and I get to take you for your first
Okay.
time. Valentina's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's crazy,
Yeah,
right?
That one's
Oh.
crazy. Yeah.
Ooh.
That one's crazy.
Valentina's, baby. I think it's what do they do? It's chicken and brisket
Yeah.
kind of vibes.
It's like
Wow.
it's actually like when you're saying barbecue or Tex-Mex. It's like barbecue Mexican style barbecue
Fire,
tacos.
son.
Insane.
Fire.
I mean, it's like huge where now there's like a wait and stuff, but it's
Next time I'm in Austin, I'm going to all these spots.
yeah.
And number 2.
There's a place called Nixta, which I love, is amazing. It's not necessarily a truck. It's a kind of an outdoor seating area, but that's kind of around the corner from my studio as well. And that place is incredible. Yeah.
He knows where all the time.
yeah.
Do you have a number 1 restaurant for Tex-Mex or barbecue in Austin or Texas?
Actually, Adrian is a fun guy to go out with because
I'm hitting Adrian up
he
when I
does
come
know
there.
where a lot of the stuff is.
Yeah.
I haven't been to any
uh,
of these spots, by the way.
This isn't a taco truck, but I really love Justine's. It's a French brasserie. Really great place, great vibe. It's very artist enveloped. So it feels good there.
Awesome.
Anyway, yeah.
So let's get into your top 5 R&B or soul records of all time, the Black Pumas. Starting with number 5.
Albums. I might have to cheat here because I only remember
Albums,
this.
yeah.
Okay, can I go Love and Happiness?
Of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you
Green?
want. That's number 5 for you?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
say
Definitely no. That's probably closer to 1 or 2 for
Okay.
sure. Of all
1 or
time.
2.
Yeah.
Sam Cooke Night Beat is one that that comes to mind for sure as an
Awesome.
album. Yeah.
That's number 5.
5. Sure.
Okay. So number 4.
Man, Roberta Flack. Man, I'm spacing on the record.
First
but
Take is my favorite.
Strumming My Pain.
That one is on what's the later
Killing Me
album?
Softly.
Yeah, that album is,
what album is
Killing
that?
Me Softly.
Yeah, Killing Me Softly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Number 3.
I'll keep with the Roberta Flack love to First Take. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oof.
Number 2.
Oof. R&B.
R&B or soul album.
We're at 2.
I
We're at
like
2. We're at number 2.
R&B wise, I mean, I haven't really listened to a lot of this kind of R&B, but it's just so good. The musicianship is crazy. It reminds me a lot of some of my friends in Dallas who play really into jazz and R&B. What's the guy? Oh shoot, man. Is it Voodoo Child by
Voodoo by D'Angelo?
yeah, by D'Angelo.
Yeah.
Voodoo
by D'Angelo. Yeah.
yeah. Super cool. Definitely, maybe 2.
Is that so? We still have number 1 to do, I think.
Damn. Well, now my brain is thinking like modern stuff like that too. I like Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun.
Great record. Yeah.
you know, that's kind of the same era of that D'Angelo. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be a great number one. By the way, we didn't really talk about your time with Prince. You were like his backing band. He mentored you for a while. So we're going to get into the next question. But before we get into that, just talk to me a bit about how that was, you know, playing with Prince. Such an incredible experience, I would imagine.
It was wild. Yeah, totally wild.
What was it like?
Yeah. You know, at first, honestly, he would kind of just like have us play his club, jam with us, but then just take off. Like we would wait in the green room and he just would never show up. You know, he was kind of mysterious like that. But then all of a sudden one day he just walks in and acts like we've been friends for like ever. But we got to rehearse with him. We got a lot of time. You know, we rehearsed for his Coachella show. I was there for all those rehearsals. We didn't end up being used because he would have two bands. He would have our band and his band in the other room. And sometimes he would combine us and do stuff like that. But he really was really generous with us, really took us under his wing at a time when I was young and didn't know if I had that confidence. And he gave us that confidence. He would always tell us, like, you guys are stars. Like, you guys are the star here. You know, like just always really nurturing. And I think the other thing that people just don't know or don't really talk about is how he was hilarious. He was funny as hell. Like if he was in the mood to sometimes it was all business. He'd walk in and you just start playing. But then there was days where he was hilarious and really nurturing with us because we were young back then.
You were never intimidated playing with him.
Yeah, man, I was super intimidated, man. So intimidated.
There had to be moments where you're like, I don't think I can do this, right?
Yeah. Well, the first time we got thrown into playing a party with him, it was his Golden Globes after party. No rehearsal, no anything. Just we didn't even know what the hell we were doing. We just showed up and there was backline in a hotel room. We played and he didn't really like drinking and stuff around him because so there was no like backstage alcohol or anything like that. But we finished playing. I was so nervous and I went and like immediately went up and just started taking. I got wasted and came back down and kind of made an ass out of myself in front of him. Like grabbed him, was like, dude, thank you. And he was just looking at me like, all right. Yeah. I was like,
that's the last time you play with me.
No, he was cool. But yeah, it was crazy.
Well, I'm going with the theme. I want to talk about your top 5 favorite Prince songs of all time, starting with number 5.
I'm going to have to use some cheat notes here, too.
Yeah, cheat notes are okay. It's not live, so it's all right.
You want to throw in any?
Eric, your top 5 Prince songs of all time.
We can Spotify, he said. We can cheat.
All right,
cheat away.
Let's see.
I'm gonna say one of mine is like early. I love "I Feel for You." It ended up being a Shaka Khan song, but I've always loved his version of it.
Yeah. Number 4, top 5 Prince songs of all time.
Oh man, Kiss for sure.
Kiss. We'll put that in number 4.
Yeah,
Kiss is jamming. No bass on the song.
Yeah.
Which people don't
Crazy.
like think about.
Yeah.
No bass at all on the song.
That's for me. It's higher on the list for sure.
One that is
Number
really
4,
special
though.
to me because we used to play this one with him, and it was kind of his later period. Was Musicology, kind of when he was like into the like getting into funk, a lot more into funk, and we were in kind of Latin stuff, and that was one that we used to play with him, and that was a heavy one for me.
Because some of those shows would last for 3.5 hours of just jamming.
Yeah. And then he would play an after party.
Yeah. Now, would that happen? Would you play with him for 3 hours? Or
No, so we would always do kind of like more one-off things with him, but we did some after parties with him that went on till the sun came up.
Amazing.
And we'd just kind of be like a jam, you know?
Yeah. Number 2, favorite Prince song of all time. Eric.
Maybe When Doves Cry.
Oh yeah, that's
incredible song.
Yeah, I was gonna say When Doves Cry. So I mean, the obvious would probably have to be like Purple Rain and number
Purple
1.
Rain.
Yeah,
Number 1 Prince song of all time. Amazing.
Agreed.
Eric, one of my favorite songs is In Colors. Take us out with a couple bars of that song. Your voice is so beautiful. The world needs to hear it more.
I woke up to the morning sky first. Baby blue just like we rehearsed. When I get up off this ground, I shake the leaves back down to the brown, 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 till I'm clean.
Amazing. I will be at the show at Radio City Music Hall. So great to have you. Pick up the new record. It's amazing. If you haven't already, it's so great to meet you guys. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll do this again for sure. Appreciate it.
thanks for having us.
man.
Awesome.